Good morning, students. I hope everybody. Why only 37 students are there in the meet? So in the last lecture, we have started with the classes program. Yes, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, so we have seen the structure of the class, how exactly we can create a class and all that we have already discussed. So we'll be discussing some more examples of these classes. See, I have told you that there are visibility modes you have in a class. Always your class structure is always followed like you will have a keyword. You will write a keyword class followed by a class name that you wanted to create, and then inside that you will have a variable declaration and the function declaration either in the private section or the public section of your class. So private and public keywords are actually known as what? The visibility labels or visibility modes of your variables and functions. So you can simply define any particular class with whatever the variables and functions that you wanted to have. Then we, what is the need of a class? See, actually, as both the batches have done with the practical, so we have seen a C++ program with functions. Now the programs which we have seen in the practical, what we have done, a C++ program with a function, we have defined the function outside, and from the main we are just calling that function. Now whenever you are writing that function outside your main, that means that function is accessible to anyone. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then that means you don't apply all the features of hoops. Sometimes what happens, if you'll go on writing all the functions outside main, that means anybody can have an access to that function and can even can make any changes to that particular function. So to avoid that, we can make certain functions hidden from the outside world. We can make them visible only to a we can make them visible only for a particular part where it is necessary, and for the other things that you have in a program, for that you can make it hidden. Why? Because why we have to do it, whenever we are writing any real world programs, or whenever we are working with any real world applications, or a very lengthy program, that time just going on writing all the functions outside the main will create a problem. Means somewhere you will have a problem while understanding that particular program. Okay, so that's why we need to have a proper definitions of your functions. Either you can write your function inside a class, or you can write it outside the class. So what your class is actually doing, class is making one abstract structure. What your class is doing, it is making an abstract structure where you are defining which variables or functions to be made public, and which variables or functions to be made private. So we'll see another example of a class now. I'll first type the example. You don't have to type this example. You will not do it now. You will do it during your practicals only. You will just understand what I am doing, and get your doubts clear. Sorry. Hash include ISTM we already have. So now I will directly create a class. Are we done with this example? Because I don't remember now whether we have done with this example. Hey students, in the last lecture, have you seen this example? Class person ka? Cash?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No. Okay.
In last lecture, we were doing private and public wala.
Okay, okay. So I have written a class structure. This is one of the function that I am writing it inside the class, and this is another one. And here okay, listen everyone. Now what I have done in this particular program, I am writing a class person to get the details of a person. Now there can be any number of persons I have, right? Suppose currently, but I wanted to take the details of one person where he'll be entering his name and age. And I wanted to display these details, right? So for that, what I am doing, I am creating one user defined data type called as person. So I am creating a class person in which I am declaring two variables. Now what will be the scope of this variable, private or public?
Ma'am, it would be private because it's the default value.
Yes, because since here I have not specified the visibility mode, so by default it will be private. So please remember that. What do you mean by private? If it is private, that means it will be accessible only inside this class. It cannot be accessed outside the class. Okay. So then I have made these two variables as private. Then I wanted to have certain public functions for my class. So I am writing this keyword public, and inside that I am writing get data function. Now this is a function body. This is not function declaration, it is a function body. So what do you mean by this function body? What you are doing in this function body? You are doing exactly what you wanted to do it with that function. So get data wanted to accept the details from the user. In get data function, you wanted to accept the details from the user. Now you can see that the return type of this get data is what? Void. So what do you mean by void? This function is not returning any value. If the return type of a particular function is void, that means it is not returning any value. So we can see that it is simply printing certain values. It is accepting the value and printing it. Sorry, not printing it. It is just accepting this, enter your name, and then it is accepting that value. Yes or no? It is printing the statement and then accepting that value. That's it. Now, since it is
Yes.
not having any parameters or any argument, so that's why here in the argument list also we have written void. Void means what? There is no argument required for this particular function. Okay, that's it. That's all about your get data function. Now we
Ma'am,
have a
if we don't write void in that arguments wala
brackets. It's
section,
okay. That is also okay. But just to know that you don't pass any arguments to it, so we keep it blank. We write it void. Otherwise, even if you keep it blank, it's okay. Next, we have a display function. So what does this display function says? Now again, you have again this function is a part of your class, which is accessible. Now these two functions you have written it inside the class, and you have given the visibility mode of this function as public. So that means they can be accessed outside the class also. Are you getting? Since we have written these two functions inside the public definition or inside the public visibility mode, so that means that these two functions can be accessed outside the class also. Okay, now why do we have to write this over here? Why do we have to write it in the public? Because we know that functions will not get executed until and unless you will not call them from main. So we wanted to call them from the main. So from the main we will be able to call only if they are public. That's why we have written it in the public definition. Again, same thing for the display. You're not returning any value. You're just printing the value. So that's why the return type of your display is void. And the argument list also, we don't have anything. So we have written void. And then this is just to whatever the values you have accepted. Just to print that values, you have written these two statements. Okay. Now, See, as we know that your compiler will start the execution from main. So how the main will come to know that you have created a particular class? We want a main function should get to know about the class that you have created. So how it will come to know about that about the class which you have created above? Because it is written, see class यहाँ पे लिखा है and main function तुम यहाँ पे लिख रहे हो. But we know that our compiler will always start from main. So how the main will come to know about the class? So to know that, what we need to do, we have to create the object of the class. Object is nothing but what? A variable of that particular class. See, we know that our class name is what? Person. So how, if suppose यहाँ पे person अगर P तुम्हारा capital है, तो here also it should be in capital because it is case sensitive. So person, we are writing the class name followed by a variable of that class name. So variable is actually called as what? In OOPS language, it is what called as an object. We are creating an object of a class. So when we create the object of the class, your whole class gets instantiated. Instantiated मतलब क्या होता है? When we create this object in the system, there will be a memory created for this class. There will be a memory created for this object. And what all this object can hold? The object can hold all the variables and the functions of your class. Are you getting? See, ये जो हमारा class है, I told you that your class will always get terminated with semicolon. So वहाँ पे तुम्हारा class close हो रहा है. The moment you will see a curly bracket followed by a semicolon, that means your class is getting closed over there. So the moment I create the object, the class will get initiated and it will come to know that there is a class structure. Okay, so whatever the variables and functions you have, you can make use of that. Okay, now after that what I am doing, I wanted to, now the class structure it will get to know with that object, but how you will execute this function? So this functions can get executed with this object and dot operator. So you have to make use of object and this is a dot operator. So it is called as your member accessibility operator. What it is called as?
Ma'am, can you repeat this?
See, when you are using, just a minute. When you are writing that, see now you have functions inside your class. You want that functions also to get executed. So that means when your function will get called, when you will call, when your function will get executed, when you will call that function. But now simply if I call the function, like suppose here, now abhi maine simply, see, this is the way you call your function. Yes, students? This is the way you call your functions. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, but if I'll execute.
Ma'am, that get data and display are predefined, or we can name it any way we want.
No. It can be any name. See, I can write set data also. For instead of display, I can write put data also. It is any particular name function that you are creating. Like जैसे हम लोग normal functions create करते हैं, it is that kind of a function.
And ma'am, what if we don't write get data? We just write display. We do. Would it display the values?
But from somewhere you have to give the values. Na? Here only you are saying you will write cin statement.
Yes, ma'am.
That is okay. See, यहाँ पे है ना, I am segregating it just to make you understand. Getter and setter करके एक methods रहता है. Like getter, like how you get that particular value and how you set that value to a particular variable. That should be clear to you. So that's why I've created these two separate functions as get data and display data, or it is actually also called as put data. Get data and put data. See, now when I am writing this get data, see, this is the way you call your function. But if I am calling like this in my main, I am getting an error. See, what is that error? Get data was not declared in this scope. What I am getting, get data was not declared in this scope. Why I am getting this error? Because get data is not the member of this main function. Is it a member of your main function?
No, ma'am.
No.
No.
So get data is member of what?
Class person.
It is a member of class person. So that's why to access the functions or the variables of your class, you have to make use of a object and the dot operator. So the moment I will write p dot get data, or if I'll write p dot display, my program will get executed. Okay, but suppose here if I'll write p dot, what we have, age. Suppose if I'm writing p dot age is equal to, suppose I wanted to assign some value 20, and if I'll execute it, even this will give me an error. Can you see? Now why it is giving an error? Can you understand by this error? Why it
Because
is
in
giving this
class
error?
we have mentioned that in class function.
What? Can you please repeat?
Ma'am, age equal to 20 is not there in the person wala class
Class
person.
function.
No. Anybody else? Any other reason?
Ma'am, is it because we are declaring it?
We are declaring it.
It is not defined earlier.
It is not defined. Yes. Someone was giving answer.
Ma'am, me. Ma'am, I was
Uh,
saying, is it because we are writing it p dot age is equal to 20?
that's
Like,
that is what I'm asking. If I'm writing p dot 20, p dot age is equal to 20, why it is giving you the error?
Because we have not declared it earlier, ma'am, age.
Age is not declared earlier. Okay. And but age is declared in my class, na?
Because it is private.
Yes. I was waiting for this answer. Why? Because it is declared as, age is declared as private. I have told you. What do you mean by? See, by default this name and age is private. So private का मतलब क्या होता है? The scope of these two variables is only within this class. You can use it inside the class, but you cannot use it outside the class. For outside the class, it will give you an error. Okay? Why it is giving you an error? Because age is private, so it will not have access in the, it will not have access outside the class. So that's why this statement will give you an error. Now simply if I'll show you, now get data is your public method. Okay, so suppose in this get data, now I am declaring another variable int, suppose x is equal to 50, or what in, I will not declare it in get data. Suppose here in public itself, now here I have declared another variable int age, and suppose roll number. Suppose I have declared int roll number, and now if I'll access it over here, p dot roll number equals to 111. Out p dot number. Now this will be accessible. Now if I'll run this, I will not get an error. Can you see that 111 is getting printed? Yes, student?
Yes.
Now how this 111 is getting printed? Here first I have to give the, suppose name is, can you see that name and age is getting printed? What I am trying to tell you is that, see अभी ये roll number को क्यों नहीं error आया? Why we did not get the error? Because roll number किधर declare किया है? Public में declare किया है.
Public.
Since roll number is declared inside public section, it is having a public visibility mode. So that's why we can access it in the main. But main में हम लोग कैसे access कर सकते हैं? We cannot access it directly also. अगर मैंने ऐसे सिर्फ simply roll number is equal to 111 लिखा, and if I'll write see out roll number, this will also give me an error, because sabhi roll number is not within the scope. Main mein it is not known. So to make it known to main, what you are telling it to main, that roll number is a member of your class person, and that's why to access it you have to make use of an object and dot operator. So if I'll write p dot roll number, it will get executed and I will get the output. Okay, now if you'll execute, can you see that 111 is getting printed and then it is asking me about the name. So suppose name, I think I'm printing age. So you are getting name and age. Understood this program? Yes, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, yes.
Understood, ma'am.
Um,
Hmm?
Instead of void here in the class, we can take int and char any of the values,
Instead of
like any of the function.
what?
Void.
Yes, Neha, what you are saying?
You void.
Your voice is breaking, Neha. Can you please repeat it again?
Hello, ma'am.
Ah, yes.
Instead of void get data, can we write int get data?
Yes, you can write in get data, but in get data लिखा तो इधर क्या लिखना पड़ेगा?
Return 0, no?
Return some value. Not return zero
Okay.
comes only for your main. You have to return some value or return zero. Okay. So you can
Mm.
write in data also. Like later on, we will see different programs where we'll be having certain functions for which you will have a data type as return type as integer or return type as float or double also we will have. But just understand that now I have created a class person. अभी ये क्लास पर्सन क्रिएट किया तो उसका एडवांटेज क्या है वाई वी हैव इंस्टेड ऑफ राइटिंग अ सिंपल प्रोग्राम इन मेन वाई वी हैव क्रिएटेड दिस क्लास see you don't wanted to tell your name and age to everyone you wanted to hide that name and age from everyone else in the world so that's why what we are doing we are making it private so that's giving you the property of data abstraction okay then whenever I'm talking about a class person will always give you the name of the person and age of the person for which you have this get data and the display method right so that means in one class I have declared variables also and I have defined my function also so that is what called as your encapsulation you are wrapping up of it means wrapping up of means what एक box में when you are putting everything in one box if you are putting all the things that is what you are calling wrapping up of your things in one box so similarly here also when you are talking about a class you will simply say that class means what you are talking means when you're talking about a class it is all about its variables and the functions so which all functions you have which all variables you have we are putting all that together inside a class so this is what the property we are implementing the property is of encapsulation understood
Yes, ma'am.
and what other properties we have in this particular program oops properties we have created a class so we have a class property so what class says class talks about a particular entity so person is an entity which will have its own properties so what are properties your person is having name and age are the properties of that person okay which are defined with the functions get data and display so we have this classes also and to access this class we are creating an object so we have created a object of this class also so even means the first property we have discussed about the object oriented languages of what classes so we have class we have discussed about the object so we have an object also of a class to refer or to instantiate that particular class or to refer to all the variables and functions of your class we are creating an object so we have an object also we have data abstraction also in this program and we have encapsulation also in this particular program okay and at the same time we can perform that message passing through this like you are asking user to enter the name and you are holding that name in this variable's name and age so that is what called as your that is a message local message passing we are not giving it to any other program but from this whatever the name and age you have given that you are displaying it that you that is being given to your main function with this p dot get data and p dot display okay hope this is clear to everyone
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I wanted to screenshot of this program. Thanks to good.
Okay.
Ma'am, if you send the code in the chat box, it would be great, ma'am.
What should I do?
Code control A, copy and paste in the chat box.
In the
I should
forms.
do
Yes, ma'am.
chat box.
Ma'am,
Why?
ma'am, this code is too big to write in to take screenshot in a single page.
Okay, wait. I'll give you from hash include. Can you see it in the chat box?
Not, yes, ma'am, got it.
Please don't execute it now. Just take that program.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Shall we move to the next one?
Yes.
So now I'll be doing the changes in the same program, and I'll be explaining you the another concept, that is how we can write these functions outside the class. That is, there are two ways that we have, that is member functions definition inside the class and member function definition outside the class.
Ma'am, you are not audible.
Sorry, students, I was on mute. Okay, so what I said, now we will be doing the changes in the same program. Now I will be telling you how we can write this function outside the class. See, यहाँ पे हमने क्या किया है, member function. These are called as your member function. This is your member function definition. This is member function definition. Okay. This is also your member function definition. But sometimes this member functions we can write it outside the class also. Okay. So how we can write them outside the class? So for that I will be doing the changes in this program. There is a specific type you have. Abhi, all of you please remember, every time whenever you are writing a program, it will have this kind of a structure. First you will have class, you will have the variables of the class, functions of the class, then you will be closing the class, and then your main function. Okay. Now suppose I don't wanted to write this get data function over here. Get data and display function मुझे class के अंदर नहीं लिखना है. I wanted to define them outside. So if I wanted to define them outside, what I need to do? I need to do some changes in my program. So what is that changes? First of all, suppose अभी ये int roll number मैं निकाल दे रही हूँ because that I have written only to make you understand. I know that the class person contains two functions. One is your void get data, or you can give any name. If you wanted to change the name, you can change the void get data, followed by, it don't have any argument, so the argument list is also void, followed by comma. And I have another function called as void display. We also have. Now what is this called as? When you are giving a semicolon, what is this called as? Yes, students?
Function declaration.
Yes, very good. See, I will see who in every lecture who gives the maximum answers. You will get something. The person who gives the maximum answer. So here we have variable declaration. This is also variable declaration. And then we can close our class. So what do you mean by defining a class? You are defining a class structure. What you are defining in the class structure? Your class structure define कर रहे हैं मतलब हम लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं? We are telling that there is a class person which is having two variables name and age, and it is having two functions get data and display. It is having two functions called as get data and display. So we can write these two functions anywhere in our program. Now this is just the declaration. So we need to write the function body somewhere. Student, we need to write function body somewhere. So suppose so now if I am writing this get data function outside, will it work? Will it work, students?
Yes, ma'am. Because it's public, no?
Yes.
Because it's public, it will work as you are saying.
Your voice
So
is lagging.
now is it okay?
Yes, ma'am, better.
See, now if I'll run this, I'm getting an error. Now why I'm getting this error? See, I'm getting that name was not declared in this scope. Did you mean our rename? And age is also not declared in this scope. I'm getting an error for this name and age. Get data and put data display is okay, but this name and age which I'm accessing, for that I'm getting an error. So what should I do for that? Or why I'm getting this error? For name and age, why I'm getting an error? Yes, student. For name and age, why I'm getting an error?
Because it's private.
Yes, just now I have told you
Ma'am,
before,
because it
because it
is
is
not in the class person. You have closed the class person bracket.
Okay. Um, because the first thing is name and age are private and we have declared them inside the class. So that's why we cannot access them directly like this, right? Though get data is declared as public, we can write it outside. But then we should tell the programmer that get data is a member of a class. Get data is a member of a class. So how we can make programmer or we can make our compiler know that get data is a member of a class, so that we have to give the member accessibility. Now how you can do that? Whenever you wanted to write the class definition outside the class, there is a proper syntax you have for that. Please listen it once again carefully. Whenever you wanted to write a class definition outside the class, declaration तुम्हें class के अंदर ही करना पड़ेगा. Why do you have to declare it inside the class? Because so that you will come to know that these two are the members of your class, right? But अगर function body वो class वो उसका लिखना है outside the class, then you have a specific structure, you have a specific syntax. What that syntax is, since that function is of that class, so you should always mention to which class that function belongs to. Because sometimes it may happen that in a program you may have 2-3 classes, and all that classes may be having different functions. So how you'll get to know which function belongs to which class? So that's why we have to give the visibility of a particular class. We have to tell the compiler that the function belongs to a particular class. And how we will do that? We have to write the class name in front of that function name. Are you getting? We have to write the class name in front of that function name. So what is our function name? Get data. In front of that function name, what we have to write? A class name. So what is our class name? Person. Person is our class name. Yes, student?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I will write that and we will see if it is working now. Alright, still it is not working. Now why still it is not working? We have written person get data, person display. Still we are getting the same error that name and age is not of that scope. See, name and age ka to it is giving you the error because name and age is private and we are accessing it outside the class. That's why it is giving an error. Can you see this warning? What this warning says? Can anybody tell me?
Return.
Ma'am, does it say add void in the get data
That's right.
bracket?
Return 0.
Ma'am,
Yes, Neha, what you said?
ma'am, I was saying, does that mean add void in the get data bracket?
Not only in that bracket. See, you have to type what I said. Whenever you will have a function, for every function you need to have a return type. और वो रिटर्न टाइप यहाँ पे तुम्हारा फंक्शन डिक्लेरेशन में दिया होगा. सी दिस इज द रिटर्न टाइप ऑफ योर फंक्शन गेट डेटा. गेट डेटा का रिटर्न टाइप ये void है. yes, display का return type is this void. Yes or no? So when you are defining the when you are writing the function body, that time also you should write the return type of your function, and return type is always written at the beginning. Are you getting, student? Return type is always written at the beginning of your function name. So now what I have written? First I have written the return type, then I have written the class name. So what it means, first you are writing a return type, then the class name, and then still it will give you error because you have to give the visibility. और वो visibility कैसे देते हैं? We have learned about the scope resolution operator. So that scope resolution operator, you have to use it for accessing your functions of the class. See, get data and display are there in your class, but they becomes hidden because they are inside the class, right? So to give that restricted जो visibility है उसको public देना है, public visibility देना है. That's why what we wanted to know, we wanted to make sure that get data and display are the members of the class person and they are accessible outside the class. So to make them accessible outside the class, we have to make use of this scope resolution operator. Are you getting, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Okay.
what if we
Yes.
ma'am,
Yes,
what if
Neha.
we make the character name and int age public? We do that.
No, it is not like that. See, name and age private ही रहेगा. But name and age
Okay.
will have access to get data and display. Why? Because get data and display are the members of the class and they are public. So get data and display, both of them can access name and age. Right? So when I am writing get data and उसके पहले अगर मैंने class name लिखा, तो it means class में जो भी variables और variables declare किया है, they all will have an access in get data. Are you getting?
Okay, ma'am.
What does it mean?
Yes, ma'am.
So
So
now if you'll run the program, it will get executed. Let's see how it's happening.
आपने यहाँ पे scope resolution क्यों दिया?
Now if I'll execute this,
Ma'am, she's asking why you have given a scope resolution operator.
acha, her voice is not audible. Okay, I'll tell you. Scope resolution operator. For both the batches, I have shown you one example of the scope resolution operator.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you remember that example?
Yes, ma'am.
What we have done with that scope resolution operator? जो example
It
हमने किया वो.
trigger the global variable value.
It was able to access the global values, right?
Yes,
When we are
ma'am.
using it with variable, right? Similarly here also what we wanted to do inside the class, जो भी function declare किया है, this function declarations we have done inside the class, to access them outside the class with that class name, we have to make use of the scope resolution operator. See, हम लोग ये functions को why we can write them outside, because they are there in the public sector, they have the public visibility mode. But though you have given public visibility mode, they will be restricted, right? So to access them outside the class, to write the definition of that function outside the class, we have to write that function name with the class name and the scope resolution operator. This is the syntax of your C++ language. अगर तुम क्लास के अंदर ही फंक्शन बॉडी लिख रहे हो तो नो प्रॉब्लम, बट इफ यू आर राइटिंग इट आउटसाइड द क्लास बॉडी, if you are writing the function definition outside the class, you have to write class name followed by the scope resolution operator and then the function name, and it should have the return type also. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, is this clear to everyone or anybody is still having any doubt? If you have doubt, I'll explain it once again.
Can you repeat it once again?
Okay. See, listen.
And ma'am,
Whenever
one more doubt. That first wala class ka that bracket we have given curly bracket. Why we have written that semicolon over there?
that is the syntax of your C++ language.
Okay, ma'am. For class.
For class, only for class you have to give the semicolon. Please remember this, and only in C++. If you will talk about Java में वो नहीं आता है, but C++ में ये syntax है that whenever you are closing your class, always it should have a semicolon. Okay, see now what I am saying, whenever you are writing a class, any class, अगर suppose अभी मैंने बोला तुम लोग को you write the class student which will have, see now in your question everything will be mentioned properly, you just have to write it in the programming structure. Now if suppose I am giving you the example that you have to write a class student where you have to display the name and the roll number of that particular student. Okay, so what I said, you have to accept, suppose once again I'll tell you the question. You have a class student in which you will ask the user to enter the name and the roll number of the student, and you will display it. Okay, so from this I got to know that I have to create a class student. Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
everybody, from
Can
Yes,
you
the
ma'am.
please
question
repeat
you
the
just
question?
try to understand. See, the question is, if I am telling you create a class student with in which you will ask the user to enter the name and the roll number of the student and display it. Got the question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Now, if you have this question, from the question you can realize that you have to make the class student. Yes.
Yes.
What all will be the variables of your class student?
Name,
Yes.
Name
age,
and roll number.
एज नहीं बोला मैंने.
roll number, roll number.
Roll number. Name and roll number.
Yes, name and roll number will be the variables of your class student. Okay. What all functions you require for this class student?
To receive the name from the user,
Hmm.
one function, get data,
Hmm.
and to display the data.
Okay, that means the same functions which we have written in the class person. So that
Yes.
means if I have to write it in the programming form, I will write it a similar program like this, where only now class name will change. Instead of class person, I will write class student, character name of 30, and instead of int age, I will write int roll number. Then I will have two methods, that is void get data void and void display. When I am writing this void get data, this is a function, sorry, here I have written variable declaration, sorry, this is a function declaration,
Function.
sorry students, by mistakenly I might have written, it is a function declaration. So this is function declaration. Get data and display are the two functions. Abhi, when you are writing this get data and display, you know that इसके आगे void लिखा है. So that void is what the return type of your function. Means your get data and display are not returning any value. They are just simply printing that value. So that's why we have written the return type as void. Right? Then you are closing your class structure. Then my class structure is closed. Means now if I have only this structure, it says that you have a class person or class student where the name and age or name and roll number are the members of your class, and get data and display are the member functions of your class. Clear till this part? Clear till this part,
Yes,
students?
ma'am.
Ma'am, can you repeat the last statement, please?
This, see, if I'm talking only about these lines, I'm talking only about these lines. So what do you mean by these lines? These lines says that you have a class person, or if suppose you have written class student, so it means that you have a class person and name and age are the members of your class person, members or member variables you can say, and get data and display are the member functions of your class person.
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Okay, now ये function declaration हो गया. Now somewhere we have to write the function body, somewhere we have to write the function
Yes.
body, right? So I have to write it outside the class, but outside the class, as I showed you, if I'll not write this part, and if I simply write get data, I get an error. Why? Because there is a syntax you have for whenever you wanted to write a particular function outside the class, you have a specific syntax. And what that specific syntax says, I will just write the syntax over here in the syntax is, whenever you are writing, the syntax is for writing a function outside the class. You will always have a return type of your function. So return type will be same as you have written in your function declaration. Return type followed by class name, return type followed by the class name. Then you have to give the scope resolution operator. This is also necessary. And then the function name, whatever the function that you have, and the argument list if you require it. Argument declarations, whatever you have. Okay. And then you will have your function body. This is model. This is the structure, this is the syntax of writing your function outside the class. So remember it as like this. Always you will write a return type. तो return type कहाँ से पता चलेगा? From this function declaration only. यहाँ पे तुमने return type अगर void लिखा है तो इधर भी return type void रहेगा. Then your class name. What is your class name? Person. तो वो same लिखना है तुम्हें. Then we have to write the scope resolution operator. Now why this scope resolution operator is written? Because scope resolution operator what it does? It gives a जो भी रेस्ट्रिक्टेड विजिबिलिटी थी तुम्हारे फंक्शंस को, इट इज गिविंग इट टू गिविंग इट टू अ पर्टिकुलर फंक्शन विथ अ स्पेसिफिक क्लास. See, whenever you are writing this class name followed by scope resolution and the function name, it means that this functions belong to the class person. Understood?
Yes.
Okay, so this actually tells that this get data belongs to the class person. ओके जैसा हम लोगों ने स्कोप रेजोल्यूशन ऑपरेटर प्रोग्राम में देखा, लाइक यू हैव डिक्लेयर दैट एम ग्लोबली, बट इफ यू आर राइटिंग स्कोप रेजोल्यूशन एम, you can access the value of that global m. Otherwise you are able to access only the local values of m, you are not able to access the global value of m. So similarly here, if we will write a function name with the class name in between scope resolution operator, so it means that this get data function belongs to the class person. Because I may have get data function in some other class also. So I should know which get data I am using. Whether I am using, suppose at the same program में, I can create another class also as a student. I can do that also. And student के अंदर also I can have get data function. So which get data function you are calling? Student का get data या फिर person का get data? So how you will get to know with that class name and scope resolution operator. Is this clear to everyone now?
Yes.
Yes, students.
Yes, ma'am.
So whatever then you are writing in get data में हमें क्या करना है? You wanted to ask the user to enter the name and accept that name, and enter the age and accept that name. And display में we are printing it. Same way your display function is also written. Return type followed by class name, then the scope resolution operator, and then your function name and the argument list. Okay. Rest all is same. You will call it in the same way. You will always call your functions with the object dot a function name.
Ma'am, you're on mute.
Understood everyone? So if I'll execute this, it is asking me to enter the name. It is asking me the name. Suppose here I am writing any particular name. And then the age. So it is getting printed.
Ma'am, can you tell?
Yes, what happened?
Ma'am, can you tell the advantages of declaring it, of defining it outside the class? Via
Yes, what you wanted to know?
Ma'am, she was asking why we have declared it outside the class.
What we have declared outside the class? Functions.
Yes,
This get
ma'am.
data and display.
this, ma'am.
Because see what happens, sometimes your program will be too lengthy, right? Or your class may have so many functions that inside the class you cannot write all the functions. See, even if you write the function inside the class, not a problem. That's why initially what I did, initially I showed you the program where we have written functions inside the class. If you write program with functions inside the class, not a problem. But sometimes for real world applications, what happens where you have a very lengthy programs, that time you cannot go on writing all the functions inside the class, because again it will be similar like your C program. We wanted to make it different, right? And we wanted to make it means we means like when I'll see the program, now I don't have much of the things in the class. I just get to know about the structure of the class, and then what happens, if it is required, whenever it will get called, only that time this particular code will get executed, otherwise it is not necessary to execute it. That's why, that's the reason. Otherwise there is no reason specifically to write it outside. You can write it inside also, you can write it outside also. Is this clear, Neha?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Is the code clear to everyone now? Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear, ma'am.
Okay, so take a 5 minutes break, a small break, and then I will continue with the another example. But 5 minutes, all of you will be back. Or should I continue like that? Should I continue without break?
No, ma'am, break.
Oh, ma'am,
Okay, take
please.
a
Break.
okay 5 minutes break you take, and then we will continue. All of you are there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, all of you are there, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we'll see some other example of the similar kind so that it will be clear to you. See, same program you can write it for class student. Now I will write another function. All of you have copied this program, right? Have you copied this program, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Now I will create another. I will just remove this so that it will not create. You should not get confused. Now I will create a class item. And in that I will declare two variables, that is int number. Another one is float cost. Okay. And
Ma'am, we have done this.
this we have done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So here in this program then we have discussed that get data function. Have we written it outside or inside? I think
Inside the class.
okay, okay. So now you can write the same function by making your by writing your functions outside the class. Same program can you write? Get data and put data ही है ना इधर functions.
Yes, ma'am. We can try.
Okay. So then we will see another program where now we will see a program of nesting of your member functions. Like एक member function के अंदर whether you can call another member function. That is what called as your member nesting of member functions. Can you call a class can be called only by an object that we know, right? Object and that of the dot operator. Functions of a function of a class can be called only by object of that class and using the dot operator. Okay. But if we have member function, we can call a member function can be called by using the name inside another member function also of the same class, but it should be of same class. So we will see now another example, that is we will have, instead of class item, now we will have class set. Inside this class set, we will have two variables, int m and n. Then public, having three methods. Void, instead of get data, now suppose I am writing input void, then void display, suppose I wanted to know the largest number, so int these three functions I have sorry, as the members of this class. Now I am closing my class, so I will give the semicolon. Now what I have to write? What I have to write? Function body. Yes, students. See, all these are functions, so I need to write the function body now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So to write that function body, what we need to do? First of all, we have to write. Now suppose now I am writing and it is not necessary that see abhi ye sequence tumne diya hai, pehle is the input function, then display function, and then largest. This sequence is not necessary. You can write the function body of any of this function first and then anyone, because it depends upon how you call. Calling ka sequence should be important, but function body likhne ka sequence can be anything. Now suppose I am writing a input function. So how will I write the input function? Can anybody will tell me? What will be the first statement? Sorry, not statement.
Return type
Return type. So what is the return type of input?
void.
So first I'll write void. Then
Class name.
then
Empty brackets.
Scope resolution.
operator. Who said empty
Resolution, then
brackets?
function name.
And then the function name.
Function
So
name.
function name is what? Input. And the arguments. Now after this I will not give the semicolon because this is the function body. So it should have a curly bracket. Okay. Now what you should do inside this input function? You should take the input, you should take the values of m and n. So write down the cout statement. You write input, sorry, of n and n. So I will take this values in m. So like that I can, in one statement also I can take both the values. That also will be accepted. Now I am done with one function. Now what I should do? Now I want someone else to tell me. Now what I should do? Is Teja there? Tejas? Not Tejas, sorry, Tejas. Sahiti? Sahiti, are you there? Sushma?
Ma'am,
Yes, Hemakshi, what you said?
void,
Hmm.
set, scope resolution factor, display, and in argument voice.
Void. Then set.
Set,
An operator. Then we will
scope
write it.
resolution factor, display, and in argument voice.
Scope resolution, it is operator. Scope resolution, it is an operator. Huh? Please remember it. Now display में what we will do? We will display the values of m and n. Okay, so it will be just. Now suppose display में we wanted to display the largest. We also wanted to display the largest value. See, because in the program what we have done, we have input, display, and one largest function is also there. Like suppose now what are the values of m and n I have taken. Based on that I wanted to display the largest value. Maybe I wanted to display value of m and n also. So what I can do, I can write cout simply m is equal to, first we will do this, m is equal to, and then m out n is equal to. Now after this we have one more function, largest. So who will tell me how I will write the largest ka function body?
Ma'am, can I?
Yes, who's this?
Neha.
Yes, Neha, you can tell.
Int set
Int set
scope resolution operator, largest void.
and then the argument, in the argument you will write void. Okay.
Yes.
Now what we should do in this largest? Largest should give you the largest value. Yes or no?
Yes,
So what
ma'am.
you will do it over here, you will write
Yes.
the condition if m is greater than equal to n. Now since we have written int set, sorry, int largest. Largest का return type क्या है? Int है. So that means what? It should return a value. So here I will write.
Integer value.
Yes, it should return integer value. So I will write if m is greater, I will return value of m. Yes or no? Else,
Yes.
what I'll write? Return. I will return n. Okay. So this will come in your largest.
Yes.
Now
Yes,
what is
ma'am.
remaining? Our main function is remaining. So we have to write a main function now. See, so what all I have written? I have written a class set. I have declared variables. I have declared functions. Then I have written all the three function bodies. Okay, now I have to write int main function. So I will be writing int main. What I have to do first now? In the main, to access your class, what I need to do? Yes, anyone?
Object.
Always remember that to access or to execute your class, you need to create the in the main, the first step will be creating the object of your class. So what is the class you have? Set. So set ka object, suppose I am creating it as s. It can be any variable. It is not like set hai karke uska first variable. I can create it, I can use it anything. But whatever the way you have created that object, the same way you should use it. Like I can create it with a also. Now after that, what I have to do? I have to write a dot input. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Then
Yes,
a
ma'am.
dot display.
Display.
And then
A
what I
dot
will,
large.
if I'll call a dot largest, your largest value will get printed.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, everyone?
No, ma'am.
No. Why it will not
I'm
get printed?
There is no C out.
I'm
Yes, there is no C out we have written for largest. So if suppose, now if I am writing return 0, I am closing my main, and if I'll run this program, I am getting the output. It is asking me to input values of m and n. Suppose now I am giving values as 10 and 20. So it will print m is equal to 10 and n is equal to 20. But is your largest value getting printed? No, because here we are returning that value, but we are not printing it. So what you need to do here, you have to write C out a dot largest. This way also you can do it. Now if I'll execute this,
Ma'am, we can include all the display statements in the display function.
अरे you can do that रे बाबा, एक इसमें लिख सकते हो, but to make it easy for understanding, I am writing it in different functions.
No, no, no.
See, एक
Like
ही
within
function.
largest.
See, we can write it in one function, but the problem is what? Again, what will happen? Your code will become very lengthy. मतलब we are making it in modules. हम लोग एक छोटा छोटा मॉड्यूल बना रहे हैं. That's why we are dividing it into separate functions. Understood? So now see, when I am writing C out a dot largest, the value of the largest value is getting printed. Are you getting, students?
Ma'am, we cannot write the cout statement for largest in the function only, like body that.
Which
Largest का
function?
body.
Which function, Hemakshi?
Like we are writing cout in
Main.
integer main function now, so we can write up also now the cout function, like
Where?
that
Where?
statement of cout.
Where you will write?
In the body of the
Which
largest
largest function? But
In the
see,
32.
यहाँ
body of display, ma'am. No, no, ma'am. In the display वाला body ऊपर का यहाँ
इधर
पे हाँ
here,
इसके हाँ
okay, I'm coming it to that point. Okay, wait. Now what happens? See, if she is saying if we can we write it inside this largest, we can. But यहाँ पे हमने return type क्या दिया है? Integer. So integer will return some value only. Okay, so we should not write it over here. So that is what we are going to learn. See, अगर हमने ऐसा भी लिखा तो our code is getting executed. But the thing is that instead of doing it like this, instead of printing it from main, what we can do, we can nest the member function inside another function. Nesting of member function means what? Instead of calling that largest function separately, since in the display we are displaying all the values, so here only what I can do, I can call my largest function. And when you are calling it inside another function, there is no need of your object and dot operator also. Object and dot operator कहाँ पे लगता है? Only inside your main function. Okay, if you are calling one function in another function, there is no need of any operator or any object. You can call it directly, because largest is also a member of your class set and display is also a member of your class set, so they can access the values of each other. So what you can do, after printing the values of m and n, you can write C out largest value is, and then you print the largest value as by calling that largest function. So I am calling the largest function over here. Like this you can do it. So then there is no need to call that largest function over here. You simply call which function? Your input function and display function. So now if I'll execute, I'll get the answer. Now suppose I am giving the values as 20 and 60. I'm getting the largest value is 60. Understood, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, anybody is having any doubt in this program? Okay, students, anybody is having any doubt with respect to this program?
Ma'am,
Yes?
can you copy paste this?
You're not audible.
Yes, I have put that program in the chat. Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am. Thanks, ma'am.
So that's it. We will stop here for today. So in the next lecture, we will see a different concept. So now we have just seen that how we can use the member functions inside the class and how we can use them outside the class. These are the two ways in which your member functions can be defined. You can have member function definition inside the class, or you can have member function definition outside the class. Then in the next lecture, we'll see how we can access the private member functions, and we will make use of arrays. How we can use arrays in a class. Okay. Shall I stop sharing the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you everyone. You
Yes,
can
ma'am.
leave now.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.